Rotarians, I'd like to introduce Judge Jeffrey Strausbaugh, the judge in Defiance County. Him and I have worked together a long time. Sometimes we disagree, but he's pretty tight. He blamed me for all this. With that, Jeff, I think I'll just turn it over to you. I know you get some of your staff here to do the presentation.
Thanks, Adam. Thanks for the invite today. Before the camera was running, I wish it was running earlier, because I saw something I've never seen before. Otto opened his wallet. Voluntarily took $1 out and put it in that box. And a moth flew out at the same time. And that's the guy we deal with.
I can't believe he had a 1. Usually you're 100.
That's what I thought. And I just want to thank you. I've been a Rotarian since 1987 in Defiance. The only other club I've been to multiple times is this one. I've been here probably a dozen times, maybe more than that. I've always enjoyed it. We have great cooks here, good food, bean soup and cornbread. What could be better than that? It's great. I'm not going to talk too much. I brought some of my staff today because I've got some things that would be more interesting to me. We have 3 courts in Defiance County. There's a municipal court. And if you know this already, just doze off while I'm talking. It's lower level crimes and lower level civil suits. Countywide jurisdiction, that's Judge Rohr's. And there are 2 common pleas level courts. And that's my court and Judge Schmenk's court. Now Judge Schmenk has higher level crimes and higher level civil suits. And I have what's called the probate and juvenile divisions. So probate would be, and juvenile would be the dead and the young, basically. So in probate we do estates, guardianships. Juvenile, we have kids that do whatever. Now, the difference between those courts is if you get a speeding ticket as an adult, you go to John Rohr's court. If you commit a murder as an adult, you go to Judge Schmenk's court. If you get a speeding ticket as a child, you come to my court. If you commit a murder as a child, you still come to my court. So we have everything that covers kids. We also have abuse, dependency, neglect kind of cases, guardianships, estates, and so on. But the division is probate and juvenile. Probate, I spend about 80% of my time doing paperwork in the office and about 20% in the courtroom doing hearings. In juvenile, I spend probably 80 to 90% of my time in the courtroom doing hearings and about 10% on paperwork. And that's kind of how it breaks down. We've got it physically separated in the courthouse. We're on the second floor. One side's juvenile, one side's probate. That's kind of how we come to these things. I brought these 2 employees with me today because we have a number of volunteer programs that we offer through the court. And Chris Palmer, who is seated on your left, is in the probate division, and she does the volunteer guardian program. Chris is what we call our guardianship liaison. She's the connection between the court and the guardians. And she can tell you what her guardianship, volunteer guardianship program is all about. She's the one that put it together at my request. She's the one that keeps it alive and thriving, and it's done very, very quickly. And it's hard for me to even believe sometimes we need to have something like this, but the need is huge. On Chris's left is Brittany Beard. She works in the juvenile division, and she handles a number of our programs. She's our program director for the juvenile probation department. She handles a number of programs. The one she's going to talk to you about today is our mentoring program. And that, again, is volunteer adults that mentor children that need for a variety of reasons. So they'll explain their programs, and then each of them will talk to you for a little bit. And then if you have any questions, we'd be glad to answer myself or either of the employees. So Chris, why don't you come up there? Well, it looks like Brittany's going to pass something out about Chris. Okay, this is Chris Palmer.
Hi, everyone. It's always so nice to be here. I recognize some familiar faces. My father worked for Paducah Electric. Some of you will remember. They called him Gilly. And my brother Stan worked with NIMCO food equipment for many, many years. So I love coming to Hicksville. And I just want to also put a plug in for Maverick. I heard you guys talking about they're fabulous. Everything there is so good, can't go wrong. So the volunteer program through the probate court started around 2017. We started with our first volunteers, and a lot of people don't understand why you need a volunteer guardian. Believe it or not, there are people in Defiance County that have no one to advocate for them. They do not have children, or their children do not live close. Maybe their spouse has died. It could also be a person with a developmental disability that needs a guardian, and perhaps their family is not around, or they don't have a family. And it could also be an individual with a mental health situation, and maybe family has, for whatever reason, they're estranged. And I always tell the volunteers, we aren't judging any of the families. We don't know what their journey was, but these are what our volunteer guardians, they step in and take the role on of advocating and acting on behalf of an individual that has no one. And trust me, they do exist in this county. We right now have 14 active volunteers, but several of them have more than one board. So they are, the first process thing is they fill out an application, and then they have to go through a background check that we pay for because they are volunteering. After that, they meet with Judge for a brief time, and he does an interview, and then I assign them a prospective award. And I usually take them out. They always meet the person before they are sworn in as the guardian. And we have been very, very blessed in Defiance County. We have retired teachers, a retired principal, a retired guidance counselor, nurses, a banker. I mean, we have just had such diverse people that have come to us that want to help, that want to step up and make a difference in someone's life. And trust me, it's a huge difference. So our wards are usually in what we call like a group home or a supported living environment or a nursing home, or sometimes they're in a facility somewhere other than Defiance because for whatever reason they've been placed there. One of our guardians who's been with us from the beginning, she actually has 3 wards. She's a retired special ed teacher, and I grabbed her as soon as I could, as soon as I knew she was retiring. And she has made a huge difference in a young man's life who resides, he's from Defiance County, but he doesn't obviously live there. And he's in another county, not from here, and lives in a group home. And no family involvement, nobody. And she enters his life, and they have just such a close bond now, and she goes to all of his meetings at school. Her family takes Christmas gifts up to him. She and her husband gave a pizza party for him on his last day of school with his classmates. And to the fact that she is now looking to move him, with the court's help, of course, move him back closer to this area so that she can continue to be his guardian. So she does a great job. Now, we don't ask that our volunteers buy gifts or spend money. That's not the point. We want them to advocate for the person, and they also make pretty big decisions with the individual because the individual has been educated and competent. So that means they can't make decisions by themselves. They can't make a legal decision. So the guardian does that. But we also provide training. The Supreme Court of Ohio, back in 2015, they came out with a ruling that all guardians in the state of Ohio have to have 6 hours of mandated training and then 3 hours every year after that. So they do have training that we set up through the court, and we're always available. As my role as liaison, I'm always available to them. The volunteers all have my number to get a hold of me if there's something that comes up that they're not sure. And then if I don't know the answer, which lots of times I don't, I get a hold of Judge. So that's kind of the volunteer program.
If I don't know the answer, I make it up.
Yeah. Just a couple other stories. We had a fellow in a nursing home, and I might have told, I've been here before, but he never, the volunteer and his wife took out a Christmas tree, and this guy was just so overwhelmed because he'd been in a nursing home 10 years plus, but he had never had a Christmas tree in his room. So just something that small just makes such a difference in these individual lives. I had a volunteer who, she wasn't doing anything on Christmas. She was traveling for the holiday, but she thought she would just go out and eat Christmas lunch with her ward because her ward was alone. And so she went out, and I got a call like the day after Christmas or 2 days later. She was outraged that they served hot dogs on Christmas. She was very upset with the nursing home for having hot dogs, and not for herself. She had a nice family meal, but for her ward. So, you know, and I also followed up with the nursing home to find out why they were serving hot dogs on Christmas. But I mean, it's just that piece where they're their voice, and it's so awesome. I had a guy who the nursing home was, and I get along well with all the nursing homes. We work hand in hand, but I had a call from one of the guys that the nursing home kept calling him. They wanted to move rooms. You know, well, it was okay if we moved Joe to room so-and-so. He'd say, yeah, okay. Then next week he'd get a call. We're going to move Joe to so-and-so. Okay. Third time he got the call, I said, no, we're not moving him anymore. This is ridiculous. You know, why do you keep, and you know, the squeaky wheel gets the oil, because if this person did not have anyone advocating for them, they do what's convenient sometimes because they have to. So he was looking out for him, and he decided, no, that was just enough movement. So, any question? You know, I can go on and on, so he has to tell me when. So, if you're interested in volunteering, or if you know of anyone, my name and number's on your chat stick. So, okay.
Thanks, Chris.
Yeah.
In case you can't tell, Chris is a little passionate about what she does. Really into it. This is Brittany Beard from the Juvenile Probation Department.
So I'm here to talk about the mentoring program. Everyone here, I would figure would meet the requirements. I'm going to give you a little brochure to take home with you. But basically, it's just a role model for the younger generation. We offer in-school mentoring, so we work alongside all the schools, where you would go inside the school and you could meet with your mentee. So the requirement is once every other week, twice a month for 1 hour. So if you're going to school for a half hour to meet with them on your designated date and time, that's perfectly okay. We do get referrals from guidance counselors that say, hey, we think this youth could really use someone, you know, to sit down and talk with them or play a board game, you know, for a half hour. And that's what we're looking for. We offer outside of school mentoring as well. It's a little bit different. You would just align and talk with the parents and figure out what works best, and this could be taking them to the library, you know. But it's not being a babysitter or anything like that. It's just being an extra person, like a voice that they can listen to. And I also have a sign-up sheet. But pre-COVID, we had 34 when I started, pre-COVID. COVID happened, we started with 11, and now we're at 22. We've grown a little bit this year. Thank you.
The need is unbelievable. I was kind of shocked. I'd been on the bench for actually a few years and kept seeing over and over these elderly, infirmed, or DD individuals in nursing homes that literally there was no one there. I mean, I thought that seems odd to me. You know, I've got family in the area. My wife's got a large family in the area. And any one of us would all step up for the other one, but there was this whole segment of the population, and I'm not talking about one or two people. I'm talking about people all over the county, Hicksville and Sherwood, everywhere that hadn't known about it. And that's when I had hired Chris. She had been in the DD system for years. Asked her to put this program together, and the difference, you know, she tells you a little story, but she's got like a bunch of stories. My favorite one, maybe she's told you this before, but my favorite one is the guy that didn't speak. There's a guy in the nursing home who didn't speak, And we appointed a volunteer guardian, and he went out, he kept meeting with the guy, and he talked with him, you know, he just go regularly, meet with him, and he'd take him these coffee breaks, like a cappuccino or something. And I'd probably tell him this, and I'm gonna tell him. And, you know, so he'd ask the guy, you want chocolate or vanilla or whatever, and the guy would say nothing, and, you know, he'd bring him a drink. So then one week he comes back and he says, I'm going to come back next week, you want a cappuccino, would you like chocolate or vanilla? And the guy, he just never speaks, he says, chocolate. He could speak just fine. There was no one in his life, and he just wasn't speaking, he just chose not to talk. Everybody thought he was like deaf mute or something. And all of a sudden we had a guy interested in him that was showing that he was interested, and he gained trust with him as a volunteer. And it's a volunteer guardian, retired school administrator. Great program, very, very necessary. The mentoring program, I don't have to tell you, but the kids, a lot of the kids, they have terrible parenting situations in their homes. Yeah. And these kids don't do chores in their home. They don't have goals that they set in their life. They don't have any regular structure. They're babysat with video games, and they don't have conversations. I mean, my kids, I sat down, we always were home for dinner. I always sat down with my kids, and I made my kids from a young age tell me some current event every night. They still make fun of me, but they all came up with something. You know, they all told me something. And we conversed, we talked, we planned, and they don't have that. And so it's shocking when you take somebody, a mentor, and put in their life just to have that little bit of influence, which any one of you could do and do well. It has a huge impact on these kids, huge. So that's a very, very necessary program, and that can be conducted either in the county.
How many volunteer guardians do you have?
We have two that,
Two.
yeah, and,
You guys know.
one of them, unfortunately lost her board. Actually, she lost
I know.
both of hers. So I've got two that are in the wings waiting for someone, and there will be someone. But right now, yeah, I have two in the area, and a third coming.
And we could
Is
use
it
more.
typically driven up to people locally?
Yeah,
Yes.
I really do try to look at pairing them, like depending on what their interests are and, you know, what's going on with them.
We're having a nice new facility built right out by the school, and, you know, there will be a need in that facility,
Yeah,
believe it or not. And then the mentoring program, we can do that from one end of the county to the other.
Yeah.
Also, when we become connected with the schools, we find that the schools know what the needs are way before we do. They know, my sister-in-law is a kindergarten teacher, she can tell me kids that I was going to see as in the adult court system at that age. She was unfortunately right. So schools are a great connection for us, and we'd like to get to some of these kids and help them and guide them in the right direction so we can stay out of our criminal program. So that's our programs, and we'd like to answer any questions you have, Turk.
Yeah. I don't know if I caught this exactly, almost sound to me like you might have a couple different types of programs. One is an in-school program where you meet with them regularly, the other might be where you meet with them or the family outside of school. I mean, it's kind of like two separate programs.
The same program, but two different ways. Go ahead.
Okay.
Yes, just whatever one would work best with your schedule. So if you can come for an hour on your lunch break and that works best in school, then we can arrange for in school. Now, if outside of school mentoring works best through work or any other complex, we can make outside of school work as well. It's just as long as the parents are okay with it and the child is okay with it, then we're okay as well.
And when she says parents, she says that loosely because it's usually kids that only have one parent involved in their life, unfortunately. We also offer it that way because some mentors are not comfortable being with a child out in the community that's not their child, so they want to be in the open setting of the school. The schools have all been very welcoming about allowing that to occur. You can come into the school, maybe have lunch with them, or spend some time with them. Other questions, anyone? Grace? Yes, you would qualify.
I wasn't going to say that. Mentor or female.
I wanted to say to Brady that I'm a farmer and I would want to be a mentor so we can show kids what we do down on the farm. But you're gonna have to probably have Judge Strausbaugh sign off on that. So,
We do have a work crew program also that we run during the summer. We have, that's under Brady's direction also. And we had a lot of wind last night. I don't know if it was bad. We had terrible trees and stuff down. We had kids out working today at the building assistance office, cleaning up the gardens out working trees and stuff. We have a program for everything. And anything we don't have, if you come up with a program, call me and we'll put it in. You know, they need what they need, which is a lot. One other thing I wanted to tell you, go ahead.
Does anyone live in the county? Be a little part of the program? I don't live in the county, but I work in the county.
No, yeah,
Live in the state,
Yep.
you're good.
All right.
One other thing I want to bring up, just a side note. Last time I spoke here, it was about starting a children's home. We're going to try to restart a children's home. I told you about the program, what we were looking for. We ran into a lot of roadblocks, money, locations, buildings, facilities, all of that stuff. And out of the clear blue, while this is going on, I get a call from a family that had moved to the lake and moved out of their home in Defiance, and they said, we'd like to donate our home to the county for use as a children's facility. Beautiful home that they lived in. It used to be a church. They converted the sanctuary into this beautiful living room, big screen TVs and furniture, and they had commercial grade appliances in the house, and an indoor swimming pool in a separate structure. They donated the land, everything to the county. And we have this beautiful, functioning foster home that serves in that capacity as a children's home, so we're able to be successful, not by our doing. We were thinking about it, working on it, trying it, running into roadblocks, and they wanted to remain anonymous. They did allow me to put their last name on a plaque to name the house after them, and I wasn't allowed to announce it to the newspaper or have an open house. Wonderful gift. So that's an update from last time I was here. The last thing I want to say, Bruce, if that is truly a marijuana plant, Paul got a heck of a buy. Thanks, everybody.